गुरुर् ब्रह्मा गुरुर् विष्णू गुरुर्देवो महेश्वर Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Good evening everyone. Heritage Society Patna in collaboration with Buddha Cultural Studies chaired by Dr. C.V. Raman University, Vaishali, India. Intangible Cultural Heritage Department, Heritage Society Patna, India. Global Young Leaders, Amsterdam, Netherlands. Supported by SANANT, our media partners. We cordially welcome you to today's session on International Symposium of Importance on Education and Educators. On this day of 5th September that we celebrate as the Teachers' Day while paying tribute to India's second President, Sir Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, whose visionary attitude and modernized tactics were loved by the students that made him popular among them. The role of a teacher is crucial in building a literate and enlightened and a humane society. The teacher is a guru, a mentor, a guide, a friend, and a philosopher of the student. In fact, the Guru Shishya Parampara of the ancient Gurukul system in India teaches this philosophy. While technology has greatly enhanced teaching learning processes in today's world, it can never replace the Guru, who is an embodiment of knowledge and wisdom. I introduce to you today's distinguished speaker, Dr. Naresh Kumar Vats, an educationalist, a professor at GGS Indraprastha University, Delhi. Christiaan Caanen, a life skills global teacher from Netherlands. Today's session will be chaired by Dr. Vimal Sharma, the Vice Chancellor of Dr. C.V. Raman University, Vaishali. I now request Dr. Anant Ashutosh Dwivedi of Dr. C.V. Raman University, Vaishali, the Director General of Heritage Society, Patna, to give his introductory speech.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mayura. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Sri Guruve Namah, Tasmai Sri Guruve Namah. Good evening to all of you. Myself, Dr. Anantasutosh Dwivedi, Director General of the Heritage Society and Chair Professor, Dr. C.V. Raman University, Vaishali, India, feels truly fortunate to be part of this august occasion. First of all, wishing you all a happy Teachers' Day. On the behalf of the organizing committee of the 2 days distinguished session, welcoming all our distinguished speakers, Dr. Naresh Kumar Vatsji, Eminent Educationist, joining us from Guru Gobind Singh Indraprastha University, New Delhi, India, and Mr. Christiaan Caanen, life skill global teacher, joining us from Netherlands. Also welcoming our chairperson, Dr. Vimal Kumar Sharmaji, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Dr. C.V. Raman University, Vaishali, and also welcoming Marja Prong joining us online from Amsterdam. Now, inviting all the participants joining us from different for this informative session from India and different parts of the world. Without taking much time, now requesting to Dr. Mayura to proceed the session. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the introductory speech. I now invite the distinguished speaker for today, Dr. Naresh Kumar Vats, to begin with the session.
To the distinguished guests and speakers on the dais, and all the participants, those who have joined through various links. The topic for today is education and educators. And it's very important, in fact, for any society or a culture, how the society or that culture wants to educate the people there. If I talk about India as we are celebrating our National Teachers' Day in India. It happens to be the birthday of Dr. Sarvapalli Radhakrishnan, who himself was a great visionary and a great educator. It becomes very important, in fact, to talk about how we started and where we started as a society in India. And my feeling is you leave the history apart and history books apart, because a civilization has got its own history. You may choose to call it a myth, but let me tell you, myth is the story as a culture we have, and it cannot necessarily, or it does not have to have a documented proof, because it was very hard that time to keep documents thousands and thousands and many thousands of years ago. That old our society is, that has survived so far. So our education system, in fact, can be understood if we talk about our knowledge tradition. See, our knowledge tradition starts from Shruti and Samriti Granths, or the books that start from Vedas, then Upanishads, Purans, Dharma Granth. This is our knowledge system. And this system, this scholarship, in fact, was to educate us how to lead our life. And educating what? Educating us about fulfilling duties towards self, towards family, towards society, including all the aspects of life. And 4 aspects of life have been so far. We find it in our Granth, in our books, in our Shastras, or in our theoretical books. That is Dharma, one aspect, that is our duties. Then Artha means generating property, generating money, generating means of life. Then Kam means it indicates the aspect that includes beauties of life, happiness of life, procreation, or family life. And then Moksha, liberation. And liberation does not mean that you die and then, following Hindu tradition or Indian tradition, that you will die and then you will take another birth and yet another birth. I'm not going to that level. Here, moksha means when you have fulfilled all your duties and now you can retire, not this government retirement from the job with a pension. You retire having done your duties, and you retire with a satisfaction. And then live your remaining life to yourself, to your further fulfillment. And that is the actual mean of fulfillment. So that system of knowledge taught us about fulfillment of life. As we say self-actualization or fulfillment, we can think of the Western theorists, Abraham Maslow, and then Roser, and then you can talk about Sigmund Freud and other people, those who talk about the psychological fulfillment. So this education system in India was focused on, as I told you, these 4 aspects of life, that is Dharma, Artha, Kam, Moksha. And learning Shastra while practicing the skills, the trades of your choice. So there are 2 aspects of learning. One is theoretical aspect, Shastra, you learn. Another aspect is practice. Practice what? Practice the trade of your choice. If you want to become a warrior, you practice the weapons, you practice the art of fighting. If you want to become a strategist, you do that. If you want to become a scientist, you do that. And the world witnesses that India gave several principles of science which took the world ahead. So learning Shastra while practicing means development of body, development of mind. You develop your mind by learning Shastra, you develop your body by doing material thing. Means you develop a healthy mind and then you will have a healthy body. And the tradition actually was taken through a convention of guru and shishya, a teacher and a student. The connotation of teacher, to my mind, it is limited. A teacher who teaches means who imparts some skill or some kind of information. Here, as we say guru, guru was the person who will help a student in overall evolution. From a small child, a person evolves to a dutiful, a person with dharma. As we say dharma, when there is dharma, dharma means characteristics, property. And when there is a property, there is a person who possesses those property. When there is a dharma, there is a dharmi, a person who inculcates those duties, the sense of duty, those properties, those characteristics, who build character. So this Guru Shishya Parampara was not owned by state as it is the case now. Shastras say that state was there. The state supported, in fact, the Gurukuls. Gurukuls means you call it schools, you call it colleges, universities. Actually, there was no segregation of junior colleges, senior colleges, or junior school, senior school. There was a Gurukul. From the childhood, the person is developed and passed out as an accomplished youth. So this Guru Shishya Parampara in Gurukulas or in the institutions of education was supported by state, but not controlled by state, mind. It had that autonomy. They developed their own syllabus as per the requirement. So the state nurtured the Gurukulas, but did not control it. An autonomous system which did not distribute certificates as the universities do now. Same is the case, whether it is Europe or it is India or it is any place of the world. It is marketing. People go to market in various countries. Cambridge people, I remember, I think it was 2-3 days ago. I mean, a couple of days ago, a person came from Cambridge University, as he was saying that he comes from a department of non-schooling Cambridge University. I mean, Cambridge University must have the department. And he was actually marketing some kind of certification. And he says that I come from a department and I want to come to your university, sir, if you allow me. So I will evaluate your students and then give them a certificate. And for that certification, is somebody trying to say something? Okay. So he said that instead of, in the bargain, he would charge money. The students will say they will give, say, 2,500 rupees plus GST, that is tax. It comes around 3,000 rupees, and then the person will be evaluated and certified. I was simply asking, okay, you are taking this money from the student. What are you giving back to the student? Are you training the student? Is this money will be spent in order to train them or giving them in order to give them some skill? Well, no, sir, I will not take this responsibility. I'm just here to evaluate. I mean, passing judgment. Nowadays, the education system is mostly controlled by state, and the state control actually controls the certification part of it. I mean, passing judgment. Okay, you are pass, you are fail, you are excellent, you are mediocre. This is the whole problem. And okay, the problem does not stay at this. Though I'm not primarily sitting here to criticize the system, but this is how things are. because as a teacher, I face it on everyday basis. We are obsessed by the idea of so-called centers of excellence. Everybody wants to write center of excellence on the board of the education institution, that my institution is center of excellence. I mean, you want to write it broad. Does it guarantee that you give excellence? And what kind of excellence? Thing is, most of the universities and most of the admissions are carried out through advertisement of employability. See, the package offered to my student is, say, these many $1,000 or these many €1,000 a year, or these many euros a week, and then people are fascinated by that. So problem is now that we are mass producing entrepreneurs as a single-minded national obsession. I don't know whether I'm using the term rightly, but this is how it seems to be. And it is everywhere. I'm not saying it is in India. You go to even America, you go to Europe, and I've traveled almost whole of the America and many places in Europe. So my feeling about those places are also the same. Because you want to have fee, make a lot of money, and then there is a marketing of the seats. There's a marketing of the department, and see, there's no wonder when the department sits together to negotiate, and rather to think about a course. The first question is, will we be able to market this course? Will there be students? And for the students be there, the course has to be sellable. So sellability quotient of the course should be there. So our institutions are being aligned to the successful business models. That is the main problem all over the world. I may be corrected by my foreign friends from the Europe if it is not so, and I'll be happy to hear that if it is not so. And today, most of the young people or the learner are behind instant success. We want instant success. All institutions are eager to write that we are the centers of excellence. Today's ranking system, and basically I'm talking about India, this NIRF, NAAC, as we say, NAC, and they're putting institutions against each other. That is the problem, because every institution is the competitor of another institution, because every institute wants to say that I am among the top 10 or I am among the top 20. So we are pitted against each other by this ranking system, rather than the institution should be developed as they should be the institutes of intense cooperation, or should be the institutes of collaboration, instead of they should be competitor of each other. So example is like, in the case of India, if I say, the excellent music maestros come from private traditional gharanas. Parampara. That is the tradition of gharana. I mean, students are taken by a guru privately and is groomed. The best masters come from those gharanas, not from the institutions and universities. I may be corrected if I have some maestro there among the listeners and my other friends. And same is with the dance, same is with literature, with theory. In Indian context, we can see a great traditions of Shastra, that is theory. The first Shastra came all over in the world. If you see, it came in India. If I talk about the tradition of Shastra, and I come from a language background, a literature background, so I will take example from there. The first Shastra, as far as the literary theory is concerned, comes from Acharya Bharat Muni, which was thousands and thousands of years ago, though certain researchers say that the Natya Shastra of Bharat Muni is 200 BC, but I do not agree with many of other scholars, because it may be the case that 200 BC, there may be some manuscript or some kind of document that might have dated, maybe through carbon dating or whatever, that it was 200 BC. But the tradition of Nat, tradition of Bharat, tradition of Natya Shastra was thousands and thousands years ago. So it came from the very far back. And same in the tradition, Acharya Panini. When I say Acharya, it means master. Acharya Panini, Acharya Patanjali, Acharya Katyayan, Acharya Bhartrihari. When I say Acharya Panini, Katyayan or Bhartrihari, these were the people who were the first structuralist and first post-structuralist, first modernist and first post-modernist of the world. I'm sorry to say, generally, when we talk about structuralism, we say Ferdinand Saussure and all these people. But Acharya Bhartrihari, if I refer to his book or his scholarly book, that is Vakyapadyam, that is words in a sentence, that dates back far, so many centuries ago. And then you say Acharya Dandi, Acharya Bhama, Shri Shankuk, Bhattanayak, Bhattalolat, Acharya Anandavardhan, Acharya Abhinav Gupt, Acharya Mammat, Pandit Jagannath, Acharya Viswanath. There is a huge tradition. So they never got into a rat race of establishing centers of excellence. They were doing their work with just sincerity. They never tried to establish such kind of excellence, and that is why they were excellent. So the terms, and one more, I have one more problem with in today's education system, that we are obsessed by the word used, that is international or global. We take so much of pride saying international institute, international conference, and global conference. And now I believe that in the near future we will start saying cosmic instead of global, and we'll go further and we'll find out some other name. My deep faith and belief is one has to be intentionally local in order to be really global. If one cannot be local, one cannot dream to be global. One cannot dream to be international. So for right or wrong regions, one more thing, somehow in the world, in the entire world, when we say international, somewhere by international we mean Western. I remember Professor Bhalchandra Namade in his work Nativism, he puts it, that is Sahityatil Deshiyata was the work where he says that one has to be intentionally local. One has to be ingrained in the tradition, in the local tradition. Problem is, an educator should take real interest in sowing the seeds, not reaping the harvest. If we sow the seed, it can happen that some of the seeds may not sprout. Some of your students may not excel. Some of your students may not give the desired result, but that does not mean you will stop sowing the seeds. You just be interested in sowing the seeds, in providing a proper atmosphere to it. We have to integrate the conventional ways with the new circumstances. So the correct dichotomy or the correct pair of the term is conventional and current. Belonging to language, I would love to express one of my intense feeling that generally we say tradition and then we say modern. I don't know how this dichotomy came. Even in language, if you ask a child, okay, what is the opposite word of tradition? The child will say modern. It can never be the case. Because a tradition is always modern. Because a tradition means the whole chain, a concatenation of practices. You start doing something, and then it will renew itself in the changed circumstances, and it will just keep going. It is like a river. Tradition is like a river. It is always modern. River can never be old. River can never be conventional. It is always modern, because once you have seen from this angle the water flowing, you cannot see the same water again. It has gone, but the river is same. So tradition is like that. Tradition is always modern, And mind you, whenever a tradition stops renewing itself, it will become a dogma. It will no more a tradition. So a tradition, in fact, it cannot be taken as an opposite of modern, or modern cannot be taken as an opposite of tradition. I believe that tradition is modern. And India is a very interesting place. We have here strange beliefs, we have strange faiths. I give you an example. uh, you know we revere and we respect Sita, Mother Sita, who is you can find her as a character in our great itihas, that is Ramayana. We respect Sita because Sita was a faithful wife to Bhagavan Ram. Similarly, we respect Draupadi equally because she defied her husband. Similarly, we respect Bhagavan Ram because Ram obeyed his father. His father says, okay, you do it, and he did it. That's why we say him, he is a Maryada Purushottam. He is the man of duty, Maryada. On the same way, we respect Bhakt Prahlad because he defied his father. See the contradiction. But this is the beauty of our culture. So the problem is, we are more obsessed about highways. We are obsessed about broad ways, great roads with the latest techniques. And in that obsession, we are ignoring the passages, footpaths. We are ignoring Pakadandi, as we call it in India. This is the problem. There is a difference between a Pagdandi and a highway. A footpath, or as I call in Hindi, Pagdandi, it comes into existence through repeated use of a place. The real beauty of Pagdandi is that it offers intriguing glimpses into something difficult and something that was untraceable before. And how can we afford to ignore it? It offers an imagination. The Pakdandi offers a fantasy that there can be a path. It cannot be ignored. Conventions, it represent a collective instinct, a common wisdom. Convention gives you a pathway tattooed into an unused surface that proceeds to highways later. Generally, highways started with footpaths, and that they became broader, and finally it became it shows its own utility, and then we developed it into the broad highways. So conventional actually is a consensual collaboration of the numerous people who were mostly unknown to each other. They never knew each other, but they walked on it. Right? They would travel over a long time, and it is document of time located in a space. The people from different eras, from different periods, they tried to reach the common destination using that footpath is important. Hence, conventions are important, traditions are important. In order to say something new, in order to try something new, we are somewhere destroying the system. What I want to say through is, I would like to conclude here is, as that the society has to take responsibility. Society has to take it over from the state. Take what? Education. Not technical training. I'm not talking about technical training, showing the training which is imparted through various other your industrial institute. Maybe you are teaching them some skills. Government may provide infrastructure, but that too should not be controlled totally by government. Society has to take the responsibility. Society has to behave responsibly. Because if government just control, and control, where will the social values go? Where will the culture go? What will you do with so many certificates? You will be just judged, not developed. That is the problem. Society has to take the responsibility. You know, so and employment also should be skill based, not the degree based. That is the problem nowadays. You want to see a B.Tech degree to employ an engineer, not you will not employ a conventional person who can do things far better. That is the problem. Society has to take over the education system, rather than like it is like insurance companies. You get insured and then you go to the hospitals, and in the hospitals sometimes insurance company doesn't pay, sometimes something else happens. It is like like civil society offering old age homes and orphanages, instead of building a culture based society where every child is duty bound to look after the parent, no matter whatever the financial condition is or the material condition is. Otherwise, what will happen to this education, I don't know in future. Because today, as we are madly behind this excellence, quote unquote, and sprouting old age homes and these orphanages, and people want to dump their parents, and people want to dump the small kids into them. And finally, whatever will happen to it? You will earn a lot of money, you will have big houses. Who will live in these houses? So my conclusion is, the education system should be the responsibility of the society, and as a society we have to own it. We have to own our conventions, we have to own our culture, and we have to own the responsibility to correct if there are some wrongdoings. That is the main problem. If somewhere culture or some strands of culture and tradition go wrong, that can be corrected by the society, and society should own this responsibility. I believe in such a small time I was able to make my point, whatever I wanted to say. Thank you very much for providing me this time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for the enlightening talk. You have definitely made us aware about the contemporary issues about education and educators and the aspects related to it. I, I sincerely hope the situation changes for better. And on this note, I further invite our second speaker for today, Professor Christiaan Caanen. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mayura, and thank you to all the speakers here. It's a pleasure to be a part of this talk, and especially thank you to Dr. Naresh for that energizing and motivating talk. A lot of the ideas that you put forth are ideas that we also see in the Netherlands and in the countries that we that work, and it's also a part of the reason of why we started our organization. We started our organization, a global young leaders. So because we see, on the one hand, a really big desire and power within young people to create life in unique ways that we haven't seen before, guided by at their own standards and of happiness and the success, as opposed to following the ones from society. But we see that they are missing a practical skill set to bring this authentic power and desire to the surface. And we see that the education system has a very well-developed knowledge side of things, but doesn't always focus on developing the skills that the young people need to bring this knowledge to the surface and have it benefit society. Now, what I would like to start with first is also by thanking the Heritage Society for making this possible. It's a very exciting to be a part of this talk. Our organization has actually recently partnered with the Heritage Society, and this is the first event that we are co-organizing together. And there are a lot of commonalities within Heritage Society, but also within our own organizations. I recall when I was a student in the Netherlands at Leiden University, which has a very well-renowned culture department. And the bachelor that I was doing at the time was called South and Southeast Asian Studies, with a large focus on Bharat and the Hindu culture. And while my Hindi has left me to a large degree, I can still say things like "Mera naam Christiaan Caanen," and somehow the word for ginger, adrak, is still in my mind, swirling around. But what I recall most of all is the discussions and the classes that we had on the culture of the continent and the country, and specifically the text about the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. And what I distinctly remember is the values, the beautiful ideas that were put forth, ideas of loving yourself and your neighbors, of respect, of perseverance, of a motivation, of believing, trusting in yourself. And these are also the values, the ideas that we see as an organization are the core of human nature. Young people have all of these values inside of them already. I mean, it's just that they have been led astray sometimes by all the expectations of society that sometimes blanket all of these ideas, right? And so it becomes a lot harder for the young people to connect with this authenticity. And by getting the tools that we work on as an organization to connect to ourselves and to bring these values, this power, this raw, natural love that resides within all of us to come to the surface, and also by focusing on our own heritage, the stories of the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, and taking in the wisdom and focusing on that and asking ourselves, what does that mean to us, and how do those stories tell me about how I wish to live my life? This can have a fantastic benefit for the individual, but also the community at large, and of which the individual is a part. So there's a nice link between all of our organizations. Now, onto the topic of today, the importance of education and educators. What we focus on as an organization is we complement the regular education system, and we focus on the development of life skills within the young people so they can express themselves, so they can realize their dreams, their desires, and play a very positive part of the community, and also make a positive impact on the world around them. We focus on skills like how do you make decisions authentically, how do you connect to your intuition, your internal compass, and let that guide your decisions. Dr. Naresh was talking about this overly focus on the finance and on producing excellence. If you build a country, a community with young people that are connected to their internal compass, they will make different decisions. They will think twice about putting their parents in homes, and will think of different solutions. So now, next to that, we also focus on skills like how do you use your mindset to deal with negativity, or and shift it back towards the positive. But also, how do I deal with my environment and the players that are all inside of that, and their influences, and how do I deal with them in such a way that I embrace the positive ones and find solutions for the ones that are holding me back. So we complement education, and we feel that it's very beneficial. That is what we see in our programs when you complement knowledge with skills. Dr. Naresh was talking about the path to moksha, and we we have learned the steps to get there. And life skills is what equips us to move forward on that path and achieve moksha. Because if you are focused on your own negative thoughts, or if you don't know how to manage things like change or expectations from society, you cannot be very effective in your own life, but also effective to your community. So by developing these skills, we unlock the room for each individual to open up to their authenticity, and from that place create life. And what that will look like is automatically different creations than we have created before, more loving creations than we can currently think of. Now, the role of a teacher, from our perspective, is essential in guiding this process, of young people back towards themselves. And I would like to share a personal anecdote from one of the programs that we organized. So we work for a large part in the Netherlands, and one of the universities that we work with is a medical university in the center of the Netherlands. And we were hosting a workshop called Managing the Playing Field. The playing field is a term that we give to our environment, that's always influencing us. And the workshop was specifically about how do you deal with the expectations that sometimes pressure young people to pursue paths that don't really make them feel joyous. And we were discussing ideas and exchanging solutions together with the participants. And at the end of the workshop, we did a round of takeaways. And one of the participants shared that when she started the workshop, she attended with the intent of learning how to better live up to the expectations of other people. While she finished the workshop with the takeaway that she had to live life according to her highest, most loving idea, instead of constantly putting herself aside and focusing on what her friends wanted, or sometimes family pressures. And you can imagine that such an idea, such a realization, and that she has learned through such a workshop, through teaching her certain ideas, will be integrated in her mind, and it will change every single future decision, every single challenge that she comes across. She will think more about, hey, what do I want? And then as a result, make decisions that lead her to a place where she feels fulfilled and happy and confident. And moreover, it's not only has a positive impact on her life, but it will ripple out into her communities, because her friends will see what it's like to make decisions for yourself, and her family will see that, and as she will live a life based on these principles, and many more people will be inspired by her to also live lives of authenticity. And so we can see the power of an idea that comes through a teacher. It shows you the way back to yourself. And Dr. Naresh spoke about the guru. For us, from our perspective, the teacher is there to teach you how to be yourself, and show you the path back to yourself, and to give you the tools to sort of make the teacher in a way redundant, or not redundant, but to make you independent, that to not keep you dependent, instead for you to arrive at your own power, at your own guidance, at your own inner knowing. And in that way, everybody can be a teacher, everybody can be an educator. You have interactions perhaps with your friends after this call, or you speak to your family later on today. A million interactions that you will come across for the remainder of your life, and in each of those interactions, you have the opportunity to teach and to teach people through your words, through your thoughts, through your behavior, of what it's like to be empowered, and to show other people that if they choose, they can also pursue such a path, right? So I think that's a very beautiful way to approach the perspective of being a teacher. One thing that I would also like to share is that we see during our workshops, right? The way that we organize our programs is that we bring together young people in an open environment and ask them to exchange ideas, solutions around a topic that unites them all. So, for instance, you could have a program that is about, okay, how do we navigate change effectively? We're just in the middle of a pandemic. It can be very effective to learn these type of skills. And what you see is that each of the participants, albeit that they are young or young students that have a limited life experiences, all have encountered the topic of change already in their lifetime through small and big changes. And during the workshops, we focus a little bit on theory, but more so give the space for the participants to share and exchange their personal experiences and to share the wisdom, the insights, the knowledge that lies within their practical experience, and to share that, to teach that to the other people. And what happens is that the group that becomes a group of teachers, of experts of their own experience, that teach them about how you can navigate life. And so what you find is that the whole group puts forth approaches and the solutions that we can all use to deal with change. And then each and everybody can pick what works for them and integrate that into themselves and use it to lead the remainder of their lives. So again, I reiterate my point that we can be teachers to each other by creating open spaces where we can explore topics that we all come across from a place of non-judgment, right? I think that the wonderful teachers, at least from my own experience, were teachers that had no requirement, that didn't expect anything or judged you that when you chose differently. And we share freely, and it is up to you and the free will of the being to decide what you wish to do with that. Now, lastly, I would also like to make the point that a lesson that I learned, in my years of life from one of the teachers that I had, which stuck to me through this day, and I thought it would be very suitable to finish my talk around the importance of education and educators and teachers with a teaching or with a lesson. And the lesson that was taught to me through this teacher was that all of the answers that you seek, that young people seek, and about your experience, about how to move forward, about how to deal with your life's challenges, are already within you. They are already a part of you. And all that we often have to do is create the space for ourselves, the confidence, the trust to open ourselves up to these answers that are already inside of us. And if we seek and to find solutions, knowledge outside of us, and we don't believe that they are inside of us, that there's that we are not ready, and then we will always seek answers outside when the truth, the love, the ideas are already within you. So I would invite all of the speakers here, but also the participants watching our live stream to trust yourself and trust the answers that are within you, because you are all knowing and you are all powerful, and you are your best teacher. So teach yourself how to live life, and to finish with our motto, a created life by our own design. Now, with that, I thank you all, and I will give the space back to Mayura.
Thank you, Professor Caanen. Your session has made us understand the importance and the necessity of a guide and a teacher in one's lives. The workshop definitely helps us, the students, not only to understand their intellectual capabilities, but their innate strengths as well, that make them understand themselves better. It is a blessing to have such a teacher in our lives. Now, I would like to invite the chairperson for today's session, Dr. Vimal Sharma, to give his concluding speech.
Thank you. Thank you very much. At the outset, I would like to thank Mr. Dr. Anant Astos Dwivedi for organizing such a meaningful and informative session. And I would like to thank Mayura first to conduct the session, and then Dr. Naresh Kumar Vats from Delhi for giving such an informative lecture, and Marja Prank from Amsterdam, and Mr. Christiaan Caanen. I was so much delighted to listen all of you. What I would like to add to it is the first thing which is in my mind since my childhood, that why a child should be taught so many subjects at such a tender age. Why a child should be taught about history, geography, everything, this. Why? Secondly, when a child gets some young, then the parents decide that their child has to be a doctor or an engineer or an advocate or what, and blah, 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 blah. Nobody is interested in the interest of a child. Primary thing is this. Second thing is, which a new education policy is now that emphasizing on it, and Dr. Vats also has mentioned about that the need of the time is now is to teach the culture first. What is the culture? What is the cultural responsibility? And then we have to teach them about the environment in which we are living, due to which we are alive. Third thing, which also I think that Dr. Bas mentioned about that, we should teach them about the music, arts, about these things. And then we should know about the interest of a student. What is the interest of him? What he should be taught, and how he should be taught. And so far as the today's theme is concerned, the role of education and the educator. So, role of educator is definitely a very, very big and very, very significant role, because an educator can lead the society to a direction, whatever is good, if an educator is good. So, educator is a master. Educator is having a steering of the vehicle of the society in his hands. And education definitely develops a critical and logical thinking in the person. And that critical and logical thinking is primarily required to decide by an individual that how to live a good life, happy life. Primary thing is happy life. Happy life is a primary thing. A person who knows more, who have more, who earn more, not necessarily be happy. So the primary aim of the life is to be happy. How to be happy, how to be healthy, how to be a successful life, meaningful life, significant life, and how we can serve the society from our own deeds, our own goods. So far as people say education is a information, definitely it is information, and from information we get the knowledge. From the knowledge, a person may be a good citizen. He can help the country to grow in a different fields like industries, institutions, employment. And the first and foremost need of the time is nowadays the skill development, in which NEP is emphasizing a lot about that now, to make a self-reliant country. Vocational education is giving the most important place nowadays. The new education policy always talks about the environmental studies, because as I told you, to contribute in a sustainable development nowadays, and to make the judicious use of the natural resources, to know about it is the main need of time nowadays, so that we can make the eco balance. Then nowadays the third more important thing is learning nowadays that third word is going to be on water. We should know the importance of water. We should know how to make the judicious use of water, how to make the global harmony. Secondly, the points of education, they differs with the time. Nowadays, the education which is to be given to the person is about the how to reduce the global warming. This term is coined only 25 years back. It was not earlier. In our childhood time, in our college time, we never knew about global warming, but now it is there. So the topics of learning differs with the time, differs with the need of time. Then the role of educator becomes more great of responsibility and significance. That is why in our old Granth, old Upanishad, and this, there was a shloka which I will recite for you. Agyan timirandasya jnananjan shalakaya chakshurunmilitam yen tasmai sri guruve namah. Who is educator? The educator is a person who takes us from the darkness to the light. Means who gives us the knowledge to understand the thing, who gives us the vision to see the things in a right way, who gives us the judicious knowledge to make the proper use of the things. One more thing I would like to emphasize on it now, that in my view, I am of that opinion that apart from all these education, the physical education is the most important education, because a healthy person can think very healthy, because to eat, to run, and to fun is make for a healthy man. And one more saying is in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita is there, that healthy soul lives in a healthy body. So that's all, friends. I thank you once more to all of you to inviting me to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for the concluding remarks. I now invite Madam Frank to give the vote of thanks.
Show our cooperation together in talking about this important Teachers' Day, which India celebrates. Thank you to all the speakers. It was very enlightening. And I want to add two things. Like Dr. Sharma said, we talk about sustainability and we talk about knowledge. Knowledge is important, but not without the connection to the human being, to the life skills, to the heritage, to the love, and to the heart of the society. And that is what Global Young Leaders like to contribute to teach among each others the experience from the society, because that's a value that cannot be replaced by universities and knowledge only. That part of what we live, our experience, tells us a lot in how to go forward. And the world has evolved into a world of excellence, in a world of knowledge. And knowledge, we have seen, like Dr. Sharma talked about, the globe led to global warming. Knowledge without connection, without a heart, doesn't lead us in the right way. But knowledge with life skills, with heritage, with our hearts, leads us in the right way, because then we start to create from a loving place. So all the attention that today is focused on sustainability, we say it cannot be without the life skills and the human being and the human connection. We need to combine this. And this is what we love to promote with our programs. We work, like Dr. Naresh say, on a global level, but we also work locally, because we underline the importance of the local people. We have a hub in India, we have a hub in Pakistan, and we have a hub in Kenya, in Amsterdam, and in the US. And with the local people, we work on the ground. And this is also what we see today, our cooperation between the Heritage Society. And we love to work on more programs together for India with our Indian Hub people. Thank you, Heritage Society, for inviting us today. It was a wonderful day. And I like to give the word back to Mayura. Thank you for coaching us through this program today.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Madam Marsha Prom, for the vote of thanks. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today.